We are only getting started in 2025, and I wonder, how are your New Year resolutions coming along? Did you make any resolutions? If so, were you dreaming big or keeping it safe? Are you trying new things? Are you trying new scary things? Are you challenging things? Are you miserably failing at any of those? My guest, Sabrina Shafer, will be happy if so. Let me clarify. She will be happy about you embracing your fears and learning something new from it and growing from there. That's her mantra, harnessing fear to ignite opportunity. Fueled by her own experiences of confronting fears and embracing vulnerability and the career she was able to build for herself, Sabrina embarked on a mission to inspire others to do the same. From workshops to global conferences, Sabrina has spoken to some of the largest names in tech. Her message is always clear. True greatness lies on the other side of fear. With a behavioral psychology background, business, and litigation, she's helped individuals and organizations view strategy and technology enabled differently. But now I said too much. Let's turn over to her and let the interesting stuff begin. Sabrina, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. What a great introduction. I mean, to let people know that we're just excited for their failures.
We
Great.
we we got their attention. We got their attention.
Yeah. Stay tuned. You'll have no idea just how much it changes your life. You're exactly right.
Um, so Sabrina, you have emphasized the importance of facing one's worst fears in professional development. Could you elaborate on why confronting fears is crucial for career advancement and personal growth?
It's something that I had to learn the hard way. So maybe learn lessons from me so you can avoid them or, make your own mistakes, better mistakes, bigger mistakes. I realized probably a couple years ago just how much fear was dictating what I did and didn't do. And to be clear, and answer your question, you don't have to conquer fear to be successful. I was already, by all means, successful, at least, in the business world and all of that. But really, fear dictated and unknowingly limited so many parts of my life. And to your point, including my career and opportunities, relationships, really changed things that became fun to me, and opened up my eyes to things that I otherwise would have never even considered. So it's pretty life-changing, to say the least.
So your career spans roles as a startup founder, attorney, marketing company leader, a speaker for top technology brands. Can you share some of the pivotal moments that led you through these transitions and how each role has shaped your current perspective?
Pivotal moments that have changed or helped through these transitions. I would definitely say getting more comfortable with yourself and how to give feedback and how to engage people. Um, Really, I mean, to really sum it up, is getting incredibly comfortable with yourself, including what you know and don't know, and helping yourself kind of figure out, okay, these are the areas that I need to learn more about myself, or in general, I need to learn more about maybe in the industry. And then really going for it, kind of to speak in generalities. For myself personally, I've always been a risk taker. I started my first company at 16. And at the time, I didn't even realize how crazy that sounded. I just started college and I got my driver's license and I needed to pay for school. So I was like, oh, I'll just start a company. Um, but what I realized is it's this attitude of course I can figure it out. Of course I'll be able to figure it out. And then second, and really this is truly my secret sauce across any of my companies that I've started or sold or currently involved in or on the board of, 100% of the time, my secret talent or my secret weapon is I surround myself with the best people I can find on that topic and in the industry, hands down. And that's what I did when I was 16 and I started, a clinic to help special needs children. I was a punk kid with no certificate, nothing. So I found all of these experts, who could help me, and who could help these children that we were supporting. And I took that model, and it's been the number one. I mean, if you want to see my business plan, it's that's the business plan. I'm going to find the best people that can possibly help me figure this out. And no is just not an option. Failure is just not an option. We're going to figure it out. So that's it in a nutshell. That's it in a nutshell.
Very good. So the right people on the bus, right? The right people in the right seats. But do you have a that's a great one. And do you have a recipe for that, or do you trust your instinct, your intuition? How do you find the best people, and then how you judge character when you're choosing those amazing people that you will need by your side as you're growing different types of businesses?
Anyone who tells you that they get it right all the time is probably lying to themselves or to you. I have made so many mistakes, the most amount of mistakes. Yeah, that's part of fear forward, is it doesn't matter if you are successful or not. It's just showing up when you're scared, regardless. And what I would say is, ultimately, like, in a few words, how to answer your question is you've got to learn from everything. You've got to learn from everything. So that would be my recipe. Just constantly learn. I learned this from someone that I love and admire so, so much. He's currently the Chief Revenue Officer of Google Cloud Security.
Mhm.
I was just with him earlier this week at a big important meeting. And he said, you know what? I tell my daughters this, and I tell my sales team the same. You've got to learn when to dump a loser. And the same
Right,
thing,
right,
to
right, right.
answer your question about character, just because someone's really smart and really good at something doesn't mean they're the right person to kind of be in your inner circle, and that evolves. So learn from everything and learn when to dump a loser. I would say that's my playbook. To keep it real simple, that's the playbook.
Simple and clear. I love it. Um, Now you said something. You were working with top tech executives, and in your work you assist them from leading companies in overcoming fears, building their online brands. What common challenges do these executives face, and how do you help them navigate these obstacles?
Yeah. You know, I think as humans, I will answer this about executives, but I think it's all the same. It kind of applies to all of us. As humans, we can have a tendency to overcomplicate something. Something looks daunting, or something looks bigger than it actually is. I would say almost 95% of our problems or growth areas, because it's usually both, all sum up to something. And maybe that's the behavioralist in me. Typically, if an executive has a problem that's repeating in their career, that's language. I guess really problems are a form of communication. So it's telling you something. If you can drill it down to its most simple components, then you can solve the foundational problem, and then move beyond it. I'm always looking at what can I learn? What can I fix? How can I move forward? And if you can start with, how do I simplify this problem and really get to the root of it? You're probably seeing it in other areas in your career or your life, if you're being really honest with each other. So focus on that. I would say, right now, if we want to get real tactical about what, the technology industry is struggling with, and like big, even I would say maybe corporate America, or, sort of industries, it's really around digital transformation. Ultimately, things are getting real serious and really fun. If you're not paying attention, take a look at like what fast food is doing right now. Take a look at what retail is doing right now. AI is, and I know it wouldn't be a real podcast without the word AI in it. So I'll just say it now. I don't know if I said it fast enough for the algorithm, but um, it's just the beginning. I was just reading about what we're really going to be able to do around things like cancer. Anyone who knows me or follows me knows I'm a complete astrophysics nerd. I absolutely obsess about it. What we're going to be able to do and understand, just in our lifetime is truly unbelievable. So, um, regardless of what industry or vertical you're in, organizations are trying to figure out on how do they leverage it to make their company bigger, better, smarter than their competition, and in a way that the market is ready for, needs, and is willing to pay for. So that's pretty universal. In my world, because I really do work with primarily the largest companies in the world, we do help, a lot of sort of startups that later, soon get eaten up by these giants. Um, in my world, it's the same thing. Like I said, we can try to like differentiate, but really ultimately these groups are dealing with the same thing, just at a different maybe magnitude or component of it. But they're really struggling with how do they equip their teams to be more efficient and better than their competition? Do we leverage technology for that? How do we enable them to do things better? How do we enable our customers to be able to adopt and expand what they're already doing? So it's all the same stuff, whether you're a giant tech company or a giant retail, fundamentally, it's a lot of the same stuff.
Do you find that these executives have sometimes issues opening up and really, because you help them simplify their problems and understand what really the problem is and simplify it and go back to the language and the communication and just drill down to something that will eventually need, you know, the solution will be more clear from there. Um, so how do you encourage them to open up? How do you foster trust with them with those initial conversations with executives when maybe they are hesitant to share vulnerabilities?
Yeah. By the way, this is what every single marketer needs to know, every single salesperson needs to know, anybody who's in customer success needs to know, any lawyer, any doctor. I mean, it fundamentally comes down to this. If you want people to trust you, be a trustworthy person. And it's all in how you show up. You have to say things that make you vulnerable, which can be really scary, but that makes you trustworthy. You have to say things like, I don't know the answer to that. So you have to be brutally honest. I just had a conversation with a senior leader at one of my companies, and we were coaching another leader at the company. And he's like, I love how brutally honest you are because everyone knows it's coming from my heart. I'm doing it because I want the best in you and for you. And if I didn't think you had it in you, I wouldn't be talking to you because I don't waste my time.
Right.
Time is the only asset that you can't buy. So I don't play around with my time. I'm very, very calculated about it. And so if I'm being honest with you, I think that's the best use of both of our times and your ability to grow. But in order for people to trust you and trust what you're saying, even that you are being honest, that means you have to be honest when it doesn't help you. And that's the scariest, hardest thing. If you're a salesperson, you have to say, I don't think my product is right for you, or I don't think this service is what you need right now, or I think you're overspending. And trust me, and I've had to say this, I think you're spending too much money and this is going to hurt me more, but I'm telling you, it's the right thing for your business. Um, People that I coach, the organizations that hire us as consultants, I have to tell literally the top 5 companies in the world. I think this is a bad strategy, and I understand that everyone else you've talked to is going to tell you it's a good idea, but I'm telling you because I really want the best for you. Um, and you have to learn how to have those kinds of conversations, of course. Don't call someone out in front of a big team. Come with a humble heart. Do your research. Come prepared. Um, and if you're not being successful, if your guidance to people is not working, again, this goes back to learn from everything. Be honest, reflect with yourself, and say, "Am I getting it right?"
Right.
Because people only listen if you're getting it right. So make sure you know your stuff. So again, it goes back to know your stuff, surround yourself with smart people, and learn from everything.
Yeah. I love how vulnerability will bring that vulnerability on the other side, right? What you're expecting, bring what you are expecting to get to the table. Um, so the fear forward philosophy is central to your approach. How have you applied this mindset in your own career? And what challenges or fears are you currently confronting as you look ahead to 2025?
You guys, in the biggest, scariest, worst, most every single way. So, and by the way, we will put a pin, and you just made a comment on vulnerability, and I do want to mention more about that because there's a ton of behavioral psychology
Please.
behind it. So I'll answer your question, but let's go back to that after. Um, but in my own career, so for people who don't know, fear forward, like I mentioned earlier, was I noticed fear was dictating a lot of what I was doing and not doing, and decided I was going to take fear head on. So I started doing things that scared me one by one. And one of the things that scared me was posting on social media because I was afraid people would judge me,
Right.
or I was afraid I would be polarizing and people wouldn't, hire, all the things, right? My shareholders, all the things would happen. So I just started doing the most terrifying things. And we could talk a little bit about how before it changed my life and changed my career and the opportunities it opened up, but truly, unbelievably life changing. And so now, kind of going forward, I do something that absolutely terrifies me at this point, probably once, at least once a day, if not once, maybe every couple hours. Um, Sometimes it's having a really scary conversation.
Hmm.
Sometimes, again, because I'm working with these executives that are, running multi-trillion dollar companies.
Right.
The magnitude of and the brilliance and the people who have hosted presidents at their house recently and people who, I mean, just the magnitude. And here I am, some punk kid going, "Hey, I think you should do things differently." And I just refuse to be anything other than myself now. And so I do it by, I use a lot of comedy and things like that to kind of ease things up. But so those are pretty scary things that I do on a daily basis. Just yesterday, one of the things that I do that's scary is I speak to and sing in front of, that's terrifying,
Hmm.
huge crowds. So on Sunday, I am going to sing. I just had the rehearsal last night. I'm trying to like guess how many people will be there. Definitely about 20,000, maybe a little
Wow.
bit. Hmm. The most terrifying. So I still do things kind of recreationally, if you will, kind of outside my career and work life, that scare me, and I do it very often. I just had a major speech, where I talked about some of the scariest things in my life in front of a huge, they're probably a Fortune 200, 500 company. They had me as their keynote at their sales kickoff or their big kickoff for the year. And in that, I spoke about Fear Forward. And in that speech alone, it's not scary enough anymore that I speak in front of these giant thousand, plus people audiences. I said some of the most embarrassing, scary things, probably three of them in that speech, in that talk. Yeah. So I'm constantly doing scary things. Um, and I love it. It truly, genuinely does become fun for anyone listening, going like, she's insane. Yes, I'm insane, but it really does become a good time. I promise it does.
It's intelligently applied insanity.
Yeah, there you go. I like that a lot. I like that a lot. You just have to drop the outcome and just go, yeah, I'm going to be scared. I'm going to show up. It's going to be terrifying. And we're going to see what happens. Maybe it's going to be great. Maybe it's going to be terrible. But either way, I'm going to figure it out because that's what I do.
Have you ever done such a big crowd singing like 20,000 people? It's insane.
I did one bigger. I did 60,000 over a day. It wasn't all at once. Over a day, I did about 60,000. I used to be so scared of singing in public because
Right.
I don't know. I'm scared of it. It's weird as an adult. I'm not a professional singer. I'm a professional thinker. That's what I do. I'm a professional get stuff done person. Um, so that was one of my fears. And I auditioned for something. I wasn't even going to show up to the audition.
Right.
I heard about the audition and I was like, that's terrifying. Absolutely not. So then I said, okay, fine. It terrifies me. I'll at least go to the audition. I have a very busy schedule. I did not practice the music that they wanted me to practice.
Wow.
I go to the audition because it's terrifying. That's what I do. I do scary things. And I mean, I was just shaking. Like that's the other thing is I'm not going to pretend like all of this goes well. There's some major fails in all of
Right.
this, So I'm shaking, my voice is shaking. I have not, sang in public since high school, college, I was in maybe. Um, and they're like, just pick something then. Because I'm like, well, funny story. I did not practice the music I was supposed to. And they said, just pick something. So I sing something, they hire me on the spot. Um, and the rest is kind of history. So there you go. Another fear forward. There you go.
Beautiful. So let's talk a little bit about that background in behavioral psychology. How
Yeah.
do how do you integrate those behavioral science principles into your work with clients and your approach to leadership?
It has to do with everything, absolutely everything. The way I engage an audience, the way I engage a client, the way I engage a team, because sometimes we're working with really strategic teams that have, major launches or just acquired, a company have to figure out the integration and the messaging and the solution and blah, 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 the teams themselves. Um, it has to do with the way I write, the way I engage on social media, um, the way I navigate lunch. I mean, really, I'm actually going through I'm getting 4 new certifications of behavior profiling right now, because I don't have enough going on. Behavior, when you can really understand what fuels people, it helps you become a better leader, a better thinker. You build better products. You build better solutions, better alliances and integrations. It's fundamentally, I had a mentor tell me this in my 20s, and I never realized how brilliant it was, until I kind of got to this point. And you realize it applies to every piece of life. And that is never forget the human element. Never forget the human element. If you're a leader, if you're a parent, if you're everyone has influence. And if you remember the human element in everything you do, you will be exponentially better. So yeah, I would say fundamentally that's how behavior comes into my life. Um, big time, big time.
Are are there common themes? For example, sometimes we read or look at situations where we go like, okay, everyone wants to feel important. Everyone wants. I want you to make me feel important. Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Do you see those common themes in behavioral science and that show up in different ways, but or is each person has different drivers, and you were saying what fuels them, right? How hard is it to really go deep into what fuels people?
So I like to keep things simple. So the answer is yes, and there's my comedy, kind of stand-up comedy background coming in. Fundamentally, there's exactly one thing. Everyone wants to feel safe.
Okay.
But what feels safe to everyone is different. So what you're trying to figure out is what makes people feel safe. And some people it's to feel important, some people it's to feel significant, some people it's to feel intelligent, some people it just depends. So how do you understand what makes people feel safe? I'm the kind of person who would just come out and say it and just say, hey, you know what? I could be completely off here, but it sounds like what's really important to you is you've got this big promotion coming up and you need to nail this.
Right.
Um, am I off? Am I right? And just be honest. If you can just show up as your most authentic, quirky, wonderful self, whatever that ends up looking like, you will be, it's faster for people to trust you. It also is easier on you because now you don't have to wear all these masks and figure out, am I quiet here? Am I loud here? I'm just Sabrina. I just show up. It is what
Yeah.
it is,
Yeah.
and it's going to keep improving. I hope, if I'm doing my job right, or living life right. So, but back to that. So it's really understanding what makes people feel safe. And for me, it's asking them and checking in and just saying, I think I've missed the mark here. And I did this, as a lawyer, because I practice law,
Yep.
and have been an attorney since 2013. Um, as a lawyer, a big chunk of what you're doing is negotiation. You do a fair amount of trial, but not really. It's really you're settling everything or negotiating things. And I've come out to opposing counsel and said, I've missed the mark. You and I are here to help these people. And I've done something that either annoys you or that our relationship is off here and we're never going to solve this problem for our clients if we don't fix it. What did I do?
Right.
And I'll tell you, the last time I did that, I waited a day. I could tell something was off, with this opposing counsel. And I've been practicing long enough. I know most of the players. And I waited a day and I called her up and I said, something's off. And I don't know what it is. If I did something to offend you, I want you to know I really respect you. And I know we can solve this problem. If anyone can, it's us. What's going on? And you could hear on the phone, and she just she's like, I gotta say, thank you so much for saying that. Now, remember, we're opposing counsel. We're attorneys. We're
Yeah.
supposed to fight and listen
Yeah.
in the courtroom. I show up. I've never lost a case yet. Don't plan on doing it anytime soon, but you never know. I will tell you that has strengthened our ability to negotiate and settle. You just got to show up as your best, most authentic self and don't worry about the outcome. Just, show up. And I will tell you, so that helped make her feel safe. And she's like, I've got all this other stuff going on. And you threw me off when you said this. I thought you were trying to make me look bad in front of your client. And I'm
Oh,
like, I really wasn't. I absolutely appreciate and can see why you would say that. I said it because I didn't show up prepared and I didn't mean it. I'm
right.
sorry.
Right.
We settled that case within a week. We saved our clients hundreds of thousands of dollars by just saying, I don't think I'm making you feel safe right now. How do we figure this out? And how you communicate that, of course, is different. That's where behavioral science comes in. And how I might say that to you might look different than how I might say it to, another person, but ultimately you're trying to figure out, how do I help someone feel safe?
So let's keep diving deep into relationships, right? What are, in your experience, the key elements that contribute to building and maintaining strong professional relationships, especially in the tech industry?
Yeah. Yeah. This one is so simple to me. And I will say only because this is what I genuinely love. Um, Never forget the human element. I mean, life is so simple. It's all the same stuff, the same principles, the same lessons when you really boil it down. I love humans. I love people. I love learning. And I'm maybe, I don't know what the right word is. Maybe you can help me with that. But for whatever reason, it's so hard to offend me because I love learning from other people.
Hmm.
I am that weirdo who shows up and says, what do you think about this political situation? Or what do you think about this religion? This religious question.
Right.
Because how silly would it be for me to think I have any of the answers, more or less all of them? So it's just impossible to offend me. And I really genuinely learn from them. My positions on things have changed drastically because of conversations where I go, I don't even remotely know the right answer. So what's your opinion? Maybe you'll help teach me something. So
Right.
be curious, be authentic. Um, we're all busy, so I don't think it's make sure you get in front of them 3 to 5 times a week. And maybe that's important depending on the industry or depending on your job or whatever. Um, but when you do show up completely. I'm here right now. I have no idea what's going on. Everything could be burning down. I'm here right now. So people understand. I'm also just brutally honest. Be honest with yourself and other people, show up authentic. That's really what it takes. I will say you want to be relevant and helpful to people. So understanding again what makes people feel safe You know, if I understand that someone's trying to get a promotion or someone's, got a lot going on at home, so they have less time. So I have to like truncate and synthesize things to 3 bullets, and they better not even be full sentences, more or less a paragraph. Hey, Tom, you need boom, boom, boom. And this is what I'll get done for you. So understanding how to communicate to people, stuff like that. But fundamentally, like if we really want to make it simple, find out what makes people feel safe, show up authentically. Yeah, ultimately, that's what it comes down to. And I will say, if I'm known for anything, it's my relationships. It's absolutely my relationships. I think because people know I really want the best for them. And I think this is a lot of fun. I think it's fun to be with people. I think it's fun to learn from people. So I think showing up with a good attitude, enjoying life for whatever it is in that moment probably is a big part of it.
What pisses you off? What makes you feel unsafe? What we're
Ooh,
talking about building relationships, or we're talking about feeling safe, and you are very curious and you love learning about every situation and every opinion, etc. But how can someone push aside Sabrina, and Sabrina will feel like, hey, no, not here?
lie to me. Yeah. I'm very, as a behavior profiler, literally for about a decade, my job was to figure out signs of clusters of deception is what it's
Hmm,
called,
okay.
um, because you can't teach character, you can't teach motivation. And if someone's not, now listen, no one's perfect. I get it. But if someone says they're going to do something, I expect we're going to do it. If
Yeah.
I'm putting my time and effort into something, again, things come up. I get it. Um, but in any context, I just tend to simplify things to like the smallest point. In a business context, in a personal relationship context, if I don't think someone is honest, they will not be in my life. That's
Okay.
you maybe get a second chance, but that's it. Because fundamentally, the machine does what has made the machine successful. Um, and so if someone is just a liar, it's pretty hard from a behavioral standpoint to
Right.
change that. And I don't want to wait around until if they do. So I would say that's what really pisses me off. If you're on my team, if we're working together, if you're not early, you're late, and I'm not playing around. We have to show. It's not easy to work for me or with me. I get it, but I always get results, and that's why, because the failure is not an option, and we will always figure it out. Um, so my team knows, show up 5 minutes to a call, like be on the call, 5 minutes ready. Be prepared. We always, we have a regular, whatever the company, whatever the team, whatever the project, we're ahead of our customer always. Um, yeah, that really pisses me off in a business context is not delivering is just not an option. You want to get me fired up, get in my way, get in my
Right.
way. Yeah. Or someone on my team. And it won't last long. I'll tell you that. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for
Good.
sharing.
I like that one. Yeah. I like that
Thank
one a
you for
lot.
sharing. Let's look a little back on your career. Did you, when you were 16 and you were building your first company, did you
Yeah.
envision somehow reaching where you were going to be now? What advice will you offer to individuals that are, going to navigate something? I don't want to say similar because it's hard. It's so unique, right? But what are your
Yeah.
thoughts there?
I'm so glad you asked this, and I hope you clip this because this is something that, no, absolutely not. I had no idea that I would be here, and I've had the privilege of, I was just at an event a couple weeks ago, and George Lucas was there, the mayor of Chicago was there, Queen Latifah was there, all these different celebrities,
Right.
all these different people, and they all tell a very similar story. The people that I tend to gravitate towards is they work for it and they don't take it for granted. It's something that also, especially people who come from humble beginnings, I had zero odds. Even if you just look statistically, I'm an immigrant. I suffered a lot in my early childhood. I was homeless and lived in a car with my mom and my sister. My mom borrowed money from my sister's teacher to get us our first one-bedroom apartment, and we turned the living room into a second bedroom. We were on food stamps. We were the kids, you know, when you give free presents like around the holidays and stuff. I was the kid, thank you, by the way, who got the free presents, free clothes, free food, because we were that poor. And my mom worked her butt off. And I got a chance to really see that if you believe it's going to happen, it's going to happen. If failure is not an option, failure is not an option. And here's something kind of interesting to kind of bring in the behavioral science around it. They did a study where they had people come in and they had them rate how lucky they thought they were, just in general, how lucky you think you are in your life. Then, second part of the experiment was they had you read a newspaper or whatever magazine, and they said, I want you to count how many pictures are in this whole magazine, total amount of pictures in this magazine. And on page 2, it said, there are 52 pictures, stop now. The people who rated themselves as feeling lucky, as thinking they were lucky, whether or not they were actually lucky is wildly irrelevant to this.
Yeah. Yeah.
The people who rated themselves as thinking they were lucky found that saw the words that said, skip ahead, you're done. It's 52, handed it in and said, it's 52. Here you go. The people who rated themselves as not lucky went through the whole thing and counted each picture because they weren't looking for the opportunities. They weren't looking for the words, and it was typed out. If you are looking for it, if you believe it, it's going to happen. Did I know that I was going to build a multi-million-dollar and this and that and be a lawyer and all the things and write, I just got my third paid book. No, absolutely not. I've got this big announcement coming out with SAP and AT&T and Ingram, and 0% of me thought I would be here. And this is where fear forward comes in too. If I would have known the fear forward stuff, who knows where I would have been. If you just keep going and you don't worry about the outcome, just do what scares you most. Be a good person, learn from everything. Don't worry about the outcome 100% of the time. I know because I've talked to enough insanely wealthy people, like generational or successful, because wealth is not the only way to be successful. A great, amazing friend of mine was the editor of Sports Illustrated and has written, I think, 40 some odd books, as an incredible podcast, literally speaking with literally the largest athletes in the world. It's unbelievable. He did Michael Jordan's memoir. He's just an incredible human being. John Yeager, if you don't know him, look him up. And his wife, Jeanette, are just incredible human beings. He interviews all these people and has a speech that he does about what makes the greats the great. And that's it. They just don't stop. I think it was Michael Jordan who said, I didn't stop once I got good. I stopped once I couldn't miss a basket, which is never. They all,
Right.
you
Right.
going. That's the secret. That's the secret, to boil it down from every crazy, interesting, person. The CEO now of L'Oreal, she started IT Cosmetics. She went to, I think it was like 200 some odd banks for a loan to start her company. Could you imagine
Yes.
200 banks say no? No, your product is stupid. We don't want anything to do with you. We won't even give you $1,
Right.
We have trillions of dollars. She's now the first female CEO of L'Oreal, one of the largest makeup companies in the world. That's why I'm telling you, it's just, I've studied behavior, I've studied people, and I've lived it long enough where it's like, just show up completely. Failure is not an option. And I promise you it'll happen. Yeah.
Thank you. And it will be a clip. Um, let's go to you mentioned it already. We needed to talk about AI at some moment, right?
Of course.
So AI, it's like we don't even know where it's going to go, what the impact on employment is going to be. Um, but at the same time, there's a hint of okay, maybe we need to just dream bigger. What are your views, right? How can we adapt and remain relevant in the new AI world?
Oh, AI is going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. And I know we're scared and all the things. And, I work closely with the NVIDIAs and AMDs and the AI, gurus of the world. Not all of them. I can't wait, but I use AI 20 times a day. I was just working on this new certification, my behavioral profiling certification I'm getting. And I'm like, I wonder what this means. Like, I wonder how this would apply in this situation. So I kind of thought through it. And then I asked AI. And a good friend of mine, we run one of the companies together. And he's an uber engineer, built very, very technical products, very, very, very technical person. And he's watching me in real time engage with AI to figure this like thought experiment that I had. And he's like, I need to use AI more. It for an Uber engineer to say that is like, wait, what? And works on a lot of AI projects in a very technical way. The way we are able to use it now is just, it's going to be like, when the first computer was how many tons? Wasn't the first computer like a ton or 2 tons or
Yeah,
something like that? It's going to be unbelievable. And I genuinely think it's going to help us do things like solve cancer or cure cancer, understand what's going on in our universe, understand things like quantum computing, which
right.
I can't wait to figure out. It is one of my favorite things. Even understand things like quantum entanglement, what's going on there. Um, and the way we can use it now is incredible. So I know folks are worried about what's it going to do the job market. And the reality is nothing. It's going to be okay. It's going to be great. We're going to adjust. We're going to get new jobs. We're going to get cooler jobs. People are going to do good things with it. People are going to do bad things with it. The good will probably outweigh the bad because history repeats itself. That's how it works, and if it doesn't, the world has this fun way of just doing like an etch a sketch, shaking things and starting over again. So maybe that'll happen. But um, the good that can come out of it, especially if we really figure out quantum computing and AI, is going to be awesome. It is going to be incredible. And in the immediate, your jobs will get easier and better and more fun. People will be able to focus on things that they like doing. It'll help us make better, smarter decisions. It already has. I think it's literally going to change every single career, profession, industry, and I can't wait. I really think in some great ways. I really do. Yeah.
Very,
Maybe.
very, very interesting times to be alive.
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah. I don't know if I'd want to be alive in say 100 years from now. Um, who am I kidding? I probably do want to be alive in 100 years from now. But it is a very interesting time to be alive. And look, we just made it through the pandemic. We made it through a supply chain shortage. The whole world shut down for a long time, and we made it through that. The
Yeah.
US made it through an election. Everyone's like, we're not going to make it. It'll be fine. And what AI can do and is already doing, Zuckerberg, not, ignore how you feel about him as a human or politically.
Yep. Yep.
Zuckerberg was just talking about what Meta is doing with AI. And if they're talking about it publicly, as somebody who has a lot of NDAs with these companies, and I get pulled in, or my companies get pulled in when some of these stuff are still in like they have secret code names,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you're under these crazy NDAs and everything. I, there's some really good stuff happening.
Okay.
And I think a lot of these big companies that have been called out on like some of these data breaches and maybe some of the stuff that they've been doing with our data and privacy, I think it's really scaring them that they're afraid they're going to get kind of chopped up into monopolies. And, thank you, EU, and, a lot of the governments who are holding these companies accountable. Because I actually think maybe we'll see. I do think that we are going to have some uh, protections and privacies that we haven't seen if people stay aware of what those privacies and protections are, if we stay on it. So I think in a lot of ways, it's going to be one of the best things for humanity. I do. And hopefully the world, hopefully the universe, we'll see. Yeah.
Um, let's talk a little bit about embracing change. Let me see if I learned something today. My
Great.
question is, what strategies do you recommend for professionals to effectively embrace change and uncertainty? And what I hear is keep showing up, right? And just believe in where you want to go. Don't worry that much about the outcome and keep showing up. Am I getting things right?
Yes, yeah. And learn from everything. You have to be naturally curious. You have to learn. That's the other thing I've learned from some of the people that I just look up to so much and adore. They're never done learning. In fact, I know because they hire me and my companies and say, "Hey, help me understand what's going on in this area of AI. Help me understand what's going on in this area of healthcare. Help me understand how I improve my team's efficiencies and enablement or go to market in these areas." So you can never be so prideful to think you know all the answers, that you're right about everything or really anything. Make decisions, make them fast, learn from everything, and show up. Ignore the outcome, because something that can look like this is detrimental, this is the worst possible thing, very likely, and you're probably thinking of some examples in your own life, very likely can be the thing that is the best thing that's ever happened to you. And in that moment, I mean, sometimes people are, just borderline suicidal because they're just in this dark, horrible place. Like, this terrible thing happened to me. And I've been there too, where you're just like, I'll never get around this. And then it ends up being that the one thing that really took you to a level or introduced you to a person or opened up an opportunity or whatever, that brought your life to so many better and bigger things,
Yeah.
So just don't worry about the outcome. Be mindful, be a good person, learn, show up. You're exactly right. You're exactly right. Yeah. Yeah.
One
But
last, sorry, go ahead.
no. I just on that note, I will say, and we call it investment blocks. And if you open up my calendar, everyone sees it. Take 1 hour, put it on your calendar. So when I say learn, I genuinely mean take a skill. And if you're not sure, ask your closest 3 people that you trust that you would want their lives. Don't take advice from somebody you don't want their life. That
Right.
seems obvious. Let me just say that out loud. Go to 3 people that you want their life and you trust and say, I want you to be brutally honest with me. What's 1 to 3 skills that I need to learn? Take what they say, what's the most overlapping thing between those 3 people, spend 1 hour a week, block it off in your calendar. Do not move it. It's as if you have a call with your CEO or with someone who's going to give you $1,000,000, because I
Right.
promise you that hour is worth $1,000,000. I promise you. And get so freaking good. Use AI. Get so freaking good at that topic that no one can get better than you. Use that as a time to interview people who are smart at the topic. Use it as a time to have a conversation with AI, just like you would with a coach. Treat AI like a coach. And if you don't, know how, you download Gemini or use it on your phone. They have the free version. I use the paid version. There's lots of other versions, and just say, hey, I'm trying to get good at this. I'm in this position right now. How do I get good at it? What do I need to know? And keep asking questions. And if you invest in that time in reading articles, invest in that time 1 hour a week, keep changing that goal or that skill as you get better. Investment blocks is what we call them. I promise you that will help accelerate your career or any goal that you have. It'll make you a better parent. Think about if you're a full-time parent. Well, everyone's a full-time parent. If that's your full-time job, I should say, um, how much better a parent you would be if 1 hour a week you studied what the latest psychologies, neuroscience, it will make you better at anything you want to get good at. I promise you. Yeah.
So many lessons I'm learning. I appreciate it very much. One last final, very random question.
Okay.
What do you do when you're not working? What are your hobbies to just, put your mind elsewhere?
Okay, so I get this one all the time, and hear me out, okay? But I'm going to tell you the answer, and then we're going to walk through it because a lot of people are like, "Well, I don't think that's a break," but it kind of is. So I do still practice law. I represent special needs kids and their families. I do a lot of writing. I just wrote a book, not just about a year ago now. I'm writing the third of edition now on federal litigation strategy to help parents and professionals with special needs children. So a lot of giving back. It's a lot of fun for me. I have found in my career and life, if you don't know what to do, if you've got like a big business decision or a
Mm.
big life decision, and you're like, what do I do? The first thing you do is go serve. Do something like go, if you're in church, go serve in church. If you're volunteering, go volunteer. Find something and go volunteer for the whole day. It doesn't have to be a whole thing, just go serve somewhere. It has this way of clearing your brain and helping put things in perspective of what actually is important to your heart. So go serve. If you don't know what to do, go serve. Um, so I love serving, and I have this heart for the special needs community. It's been there since I was 13 when I did my first internship, it's just been a thing. And then I do a little bit of my fear forward. So I do stand-up comedy because I was very scared of failing in public. Well, it turns out you have to fail like for years in public when you do stand-up comedy. So I do a lot of stand-up comedy. Um, I learn. I love, love, love to learn. I was that weirdo kid who like made up my own homework when there wasn't homework. I
I
I
know it.
got a dictionary for Christmas one year. I like learning. I played school. So, I mentioned I'm in a recertification program. I'm getting these 4 different certifications in behavior profiling. Um, I sing now because, that was one of my fear forwards and I love doing it. And then if I'm really just trying to veg out and just like turn off the world, I love a good podcast, anything funny. I love it, like any comedian, anything funny. I love astrophysics. The whole idea of like, what is quantum entanglement? I'll spend hours just
Yeah.
like, what is it? And listen to every different astrophysicist's like theory on it. And then I'll ask AI about it. Like, what's the probability of it being this? And, anyway, so I'll geek out on that kind of stuff. Um, and then really my family, they're just fun. They're just silly. I was just with them last night. I love having a good time. Life is fun. I like being
Yeah.
silly. So that's my go-to shut off the world kind of in this lifetime for now.
Sabrina, this has been an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for giving me your time, your attention, sharing everything that you shared. It's been amazing, and I hope that we can get to do it sometime again in the future.
I know we will, and I am so incredibly excited for what's ahead for you. I'm paying attention to what you're doing and what you're building. It's awesome. It's impressive. It's good. Keep doing it. This is how we all grow. This is how we all grow and learn. And the world needs more of you. So thank you for your doing. I wish this was more of a conversation. We're going to have to do that next because I want your answers. And thank you for this. This was a lot of fun, and I hope it helps a lot of people.